Hi everyone, hope all of you are having a good day. And today we are going to have a webinar on EUDR-Ready supply and technical compliance. So the main agenda of this webinar is to look into how we can get ready with our value chain so that we can be EUDR compliant. Moving over. So I request everyone to be muted at this meeting. And then we are going to record the meeting and it's in recording. And once the webinar has ended, we will send you the recording. And if you have any questions or queries, you can always contact us at compliance@apengineering.com and we will get back to you shortly. Hi everyone, once again, I am your speaker for the day. My name is Ranjini Varadarajan. I am a manager in the compliance division. So let's look into the agenda for today. So we have our introduction and welcome. And then you have your EUDR requirements for supply chains, and then what are the strategies for EUDR compliant supply chains, and then how can we leverage software for EUDR compliance, and then we will move forward to any queries that we have for today. Moving over to the next slide. This basically is a small introduction about APA. This year we've crossed our 25th year actually, and we have our offices in US, EU, and the APAC regions, and we are ISO 9001, 27001 certified. We are also TISAC certified, and we have more than 350 customers, and it's rapidly increasing. And there are 4 offerings in APA. So one is compliance, one is our engineering, sourcing, and technology. We offer turnkey solutions. We also have software and also services. Moving over, so we focus on a customer-centric solution, and we have extensive experience with global OEMs and Tier 1 customers. And then we have more than 25 years of experience in the compliance division, and we have more than 400 experts in this area. And we also have advanced tools for automation and data management, and also a deep data analysis and reporting. So I'm moving over to the next slide. So here are some of the compliances that we deal with. It's not all, but it's a few. So we deal with REACH, ROS, SCIP, SDS. Then we do conflict minerals, and then we also have the FAST, ESCA, and Prop 65. We also do supply chain due diligence, the German supply chain due diligence. We also do ASHE, we are into CBAM, and we support both material product compliance and also sustainability related services at this juncture. And then, as you know, this is the part 2 of the EUDR webinar that we are having. And in our previous webinar, we had a basic introduction of what EUDR actually means, the EU Deforestation Regulation. So in our previous webinar, we looked into, understanding the basic concepts of EUDR, then what is the compliance requirements, and what is the due diligence, and then what is the impacts of EUDR, and in detail, we discussed the next steps. So this happened in our previous webinar. So now we're going to move to part 2. And in the session, when you receive the session also, which we loaded up in the YouTube, you can also go there and have a look into our previous webinar as well for your reference. And then first, we are going to start with the EUDR requirements for supply chain. So basically, when it comes to supply chain, because European Union's deforestation regulation is all about our value chain. And in value chain, there are 3 main aspects that we have to look into. One is making sure that our value chain or supply chain is we have deforestation-free sourcing. And then you also have, when we say deforestation-free sourcing, that is a products that we are procuring from our suppliers. Must not originated from a deforested land or degraded land after 31st of December 2020. So that is what we mean by deforestation-free sourcing. And this is applicable to both products which are produced within the member states of European Union, and also for goods which are imported. Then the second main aspect is your traceability. So companies are required to provide the geolocation data for the value chain where the commodities are actually produced. So traceability extends to not only to farm level or plantation level, it extends to farm and plantation level, and not just your mills. So then you have the third main and the most important aspect, that is your due diligence. And you have to submit a due diligence statement via the EU information system, which will verify compliance. And then this includes data on the product type, your quantity, country of origin, and the compliance with your local laws like land use and human rights and environmental rights and etc. So these are the basic requirements for EUDR supply chain. So these are the three main aspects of EUDR. I'm moving over to the next slide. Then you have your due diligence process. So in the earlier slide, we looked at what are the three main core aspects of EUDR requirements, which is like deforestation, the traceability, and due diligence aspect. And due diligence has a specific process in EUDR. So it starts with data collection, your risk assessment, risk mitigation, and due diligence statement. Just give me a minute. I'm just going to be back. So once this due diligence process is done, we also have certain consequences of non-compliance for EUDR, which we are looking into. And failure to meet EUDR can actually hit your business very hard. So you have your market ban. So you cannot sell any products or place any products in the EU market. Then you are heavily fined. It's like it goes to about 4% of your EU annual turnover. Then there are product seizures which could happen. Then your goods being confiscated at EU borders. Then you also have your procurement exclusion. That is, you will be barred from any EU public contracts if you don't comply. This may happen. And then you also have your trading halls, that is a suspended operation in EU. I hope I'm audible to all. So I seem to have lost a connection for a bit. So I'm just going to reshare my screen. So here we are. So there are key challenges to EUDR compliance in the value chain, because today essentially the topic of the webinar is how to deal with supply chains and how to be EUDR compliant ready. So I'm going to address the key challenges that we will be finding with our suppliers in the value chain. So one is geolocation data. So because we have to provide the GPS coordinates for every plot of land where we are, where the product is originating from, this can be really complex in terms of, having a larger or a global supply chain. And this can also be difficult in case the suppliers are really, really small. So we have the complexity when the supplier chain or else the value chain is really large. And we also have issues in geo location of the data when the suppliers are really small. They don't have the technology to actually give you the GPS related information, or they aren't aware of such a regulation being in place. So you have complexities at either end. And then when we say as I've mentioned before, there is something called the complex supply chain. And there are characteristics of the complex supply chain, which has been given by EU in their legislative document. So for the supply chain of the final product, so are multiple processes involved, and does product include commodities that are sourced from multiple plots or countries. So you can have a product, a final product, where the product has originated from diverse suppliers and diverse locations, or else it has come from a supplier value chain within a specific country, but it belongs to different plots. So you have complexity in gathering information from them as well. And then finally, if your end product is highly processed, and does it contain any other other relevant products within itself. For example, you can take the example of timber. And we know that EUDR is nothing but an extension of EUDR, the timber regulation. And for timbers, you can understand whether the product comes from more than one tree species. Has timber products been traded across multiple countries? So because when you're trading, you would have to collect all your geolocation data from the multiple places that the tree has been traded. And then were any processed timber products manufactured in third countries before entering the EU market. So there are a lot of complexities just within the geolocation data. And why this is important is because we have already defined what is meant by deforestation-free sourcing. So post 2020, in the map that EU has provided on the forest areas, the imagery that the EU has already provided with us, all the data that is there available in the forested areas by 2020, we have to take the geolocation data and ensure that the plots are falling in places where there has not been any sort of deforestation in that area. So your geographical coordinates have to be actually verified against the data that is already available with EUDR by December 2020. So during verification, if the geolocation falls in areas where it shows some amount of deforestation, then the products will not be compliant. And to get the geolocation data is also difficult, as that's what we are discussing. It could be the either end. Either your supplier is too small, or else you have a highly processed good which you want to place in the market. If you're going to be an operator, you're going to place it in the market, and this is going to require you to trace down the product right till the origin, which could be not only the mills, but it also mean the farmlands and etc. So that is why this is very important. This data is very, very crucial, because we are going to compare the data that we get from our value chain suppliers, and then compare this against the data that is already available in the traces information system. So traces is the EUDR's software that is being provided for us to lodge all the data inside for EUDR. And then you also have data sharing limitations, like certain local laws may prevent your supply chain members from actually sharing information with you. And then if you have a huge value chain, and there may be intermediaries who are not actually willing to share any information about the geolocation, and people will not be willing to give you that information if there are any sorts of illegally destroying forest areas, and then farming there, and then trying to sell other supplies in the upstream, all the raw materials or that comes from that specific plot of land. So sharing the plot of land will be more easier if the value chain is more transparent, and we are ethically sourcing it from non-deforested forested areas. So I'm moving over to the next slide. And the second is supplier verification. As we previously saw on the previous slide, So if your supply chain is going to be really complex, that is, you have a vast supply chain, then verifying the deforestation information is going to be very, very resource extensive. So if you are going to have the final product manufactured in one country, but we are sourcing raw materials from multiple countries, I'm talking about the products which are only under the scope of EUDR. So we have six products which are currently under scope, and whatever products they may be, if you are trying to purchase materials from different areas across the globe, then obviously you will have difficulty in verifying the information. And SMEs, like especially when it comes to small and medium enterprises, they lack visibility. That is, they don't have more information apart from their tier one suppliers. Your SMEs will always be tied to your direct suppliers, and if it goes beyond that, they may not have any clarity. Whereas in larger corporations, you may tend to have more information down the lane, but in SMEs, you may not have that much clarity. So this can play a role in your supplier verification as well. Then you have your the other point is your risk assessment. Then the deforestation risk is actually based on a country level. The country level deforestation risk is actually provided by the European Union. It has come out in May 2025 and have also attached the document as a part of this presentation. So if your country is being rated as like a high risk country, then you will face more stricter audits. If it is a low risk country or else a standard country, then your assessment will be much simpler. For example, for low risk operators, for countries who are under low risk, you obviously have a very simplified supply chain due diligence that is to be provided. So so there are three challenges mainly here. So one is you're getting your geolocation data. This obviously affects your. This is based on your complexity of your supply chain, and how well your intermediates are able to share the information. And then if your suppliers are going to be really small, then obviously you will have difficulty there. So this is the first part that we spoke about. Let me take my pointer. So this is the first important key aspect that we looked into. And the other key challenges is your supplier verification. When we have a global value chain, then you also have a risk assessment. So if it is going to be a high risk country, then higher the audit, more the crucial audit. And if it is going to be a low risk country, then you have your simplified due diligence provided. So, and when we say that, for imports from low-risk countries, we have a simplified due diligence, the data that we collect from them is not going to change. So what is being exempted is that, like, you don't have to do a formal risk assessment because your country has been already classified under low risk low risk by the European authorities already, by EU already. So you don't have to do a formal risk assessment, or else you don't have to do a proactive risk mitigation. So you don't have to mandatorily do this. But when you are falling under standard or else high risk countries, you are obviously required to do your formal risk assessment and also proactively do risk mitigation measures. Then we come to the most important place here, and we are going to discuss on the strategies for EUDR compliant supply chain. So I'm moving over to the next slide. And in the strategies for EUDR compliant chain, we are going to look into what steps must we take in order to help the value chain, the suppliers in our value chain to actually be compliant with the regulation. So first is, as an organization, we have to understand and define the obligations internally. So even before we proceed with the suppliers or do anything with respect to the suppliers, so are we really aware of what the requirement is? Are we self-aware? Is our organization aware? And then we have to, like, first is your awareness. Then does your organization fall under the scope of EUDR. So are you really falling in scope? And these are the products that are presently under scope. Then what is your role? How does your organization play a part in EUDR? So whether you are an operator or else you are a trader, because operator has a different obligation when compared to a trader. An operator is a person who is placing the products in the market the first time, that is in European Union. European Union, when I say European Union, it could be an import or an export. So basically making the product available for trading is your operator, and then you have your trader who's distributing the products that is made available by the operator. So you have to understand as an organization whether you are a trader or else whether you are a operator. Whether are you the one who's making the product available in the market, or else are you the one who's distributing the products in the market. So since EUDR regulation, it applies to both the member states as well as non-EU countries. So we have to make sure that we define our role. And then you have to align internally. So we definitely need to have few people working for this regulation, irrespective of having softwares, and which we're going to cover in detail in the next few slides. Irrespective of whatever softwares we may have, we definitely need to have an internal compliance team who's dedicated to EUDR. At least a couple of people who will be able to manage any questions, and who will be able to proactively, engage and provide ideas, and like ideas in terms of risk mitigation. So ideas have to come from people, and those offers will help. I think it's always best to have a good team who are aware of the EUDR regulation and who will also develop policies and procedures in the relevant department. So this is really required. And so when we say relevant departments, it could mean your procurement team, because they play the largest role here. They know where the products come from for manufacturing the end product. They know where the product is coming from. They will have a good rapport with all the other people down the supply chain. So it's very important to have people involved from there. Then you also have to have few people who work on sustainability in the team. And then you also need to have your legal departments, because there is going to be a lot of cost involved. So it's always better to have the legal team out here so that they can help you with all the customs procedure and all that is going to happen based on importing or exporting goods here. So first is understanding and defining the obligations. The second is to map and analyze your supply chain. So this is a very important part that we can see. So once we have understood whether whether we are aware of the regulation, then are we under the scope, then who we actually are in terms of playing a role in EUDR, and then do we have the right policies, do we have the right people to work with. Once this is decided, then we can move on to mapping and analyzing the supply chains. So first thing is to identify a relevant product and commodities. So we have to understand from what supplier what products are we procuring. So all organizations will have a huge vast data. So this belongs to only EUDR applicable products. So whatever products are in scope, we have to identify from which supplier are we procuring those products which are which fall under the scope of EUDR. So we need to have that, and this is available. All the product categories and the SCN codes are available in the Annex 1 of the legislative document. And then you have to conduct your spend analysis. So here your procurement team will actually be really helpful. So all the procurement data you would have to get in, then identify the suppliers and raw material origin. So you have to gather data from them. Then you also have to prioritize high impact products. This is also very essential, because we have at present we have cocoa and coffee and palm oil, etc. And we have to understand the final product which we are going to place in the market, or else which we are going to trade. So what is their impact on the environment? We have to understand that as well. when we say understand the impact of the product in the environment, it's nothing but your environmental footprint. So environmental footprint is nothing but the impact that humans or human activities or organizations have on the environment. So the final product that you're going to place in the market, or else you're going to trade, whether you're going to be an operator or a trader. So how is the product, if you're going to be an operator, how is your product going to impact the environment? So based on that, and what is the business importance? So there are an organization may sell hundreds of products, and then there may be certain products which are sold, in huge volumes, or else there may be a lot of need or demand in the market. So if it is going to be such type of product, it has lot of business importance. So when with business importance also comes your environmental footprint. So how it is going to impact the environment. Based on this, it is always better to categorize and prioritize your products. Then the other one is map the supply chain to plot level. This is really easier said than done. That's what we would say. So this means that we have to go to the end of the supply chain. So this is going to be all your supplier upstream data. So data has to be collected from the ground up. So in this sense, saying that like map supply chain to plot level is much more easier than actually getting the information. We can have softwares. At APA we do have softwares which will do this, but nothing happens without engaging with your suppliers. And I've done this, so I truly understand that though we have digital softwares at our disposal, having a software alone does not help us, because we have to engage with all our supply chain team in order to collect the essential information from them. And this is what we'd have to do. So first is to understand and define the obligations. The second is to map and analyze your supply chain, because you may have you may be producing a final product which can fall into the scope, and the products may be 5, but your suppliers can be you can have 20 to 25 suppliers for each and every product line. So there are a lot of suppliers who can give you the same materials for processing and making your final product, or else they can just give you can procure directly the final products from them. So whosoever they are, you have to collect and process all this information. And though we have softwares, we are very happy this does not happen without any sort of engagement with them. So I'm just moving over to the next slide. Then here we have, this is also very crucial, then implementing a robust due diligence system. So initially we looked into due diligence process, and for having a good due diligence process, not only internal policy is helpful, but we also have to have a good system or procedure in place. So certain organizations who are smaller, for SMEs, can handle things manually, but that does not work for larger enterprises. Even if it is going to be an SME, it's going to be tough when they're going to have a like a huge value chain. Respectively, when I say SME, even they can have a huge value chain, and the value chains data may be really required for them. And even their manual entries will not work, manual systems will not work. In that case, we have to have robust due diligence system in place. The first part of this is like information gathering. So collect verifiable data. So what are those verifiable data is like your product description, what is the name of your product, what is the quantity, where is the country of production, what is the geolocation. So geolocation is required only when like when you're actually working on the farm, right? So the plots of land that has to come from your zero supplier, so that information is required. Then your supplier details, and whether those suppliers are actually complying with the local laws. So we also saw this previously. It's like land use rights. So if there are indigenous people and they have the right to use a land, and we cannot take those land, and we better not take them, because this is finally not going to help us in being EUDR compliant. So you have to comply with all the local rules of the place where the product is originating from. So it's going to include the environmental regulations, and there may be also legal regulations that's there as a part of it, and then you also have your human rights. And this will also include whether you're forcing it's when I say it's you, it's like whether the organization, people down your supply chain are forcing people into labor and all that sort of things will come in place. So they have to comply to all the local laws of the specific land from where the product is originating. Then you have your risk assessment. The first thing is to gather information, and then is your risk assessment, evaluating risk of non-compliance. So this is what we're going to do. So first is like country risk classification. This makes our life much more simpler. So this has come out in me as I previously said, and then in slide 15, I have also put in simplified due diligence for low risk countries. So what they are exempted from? They are exempted from mandatory risk assessment, or else mandatorily having risk mitigation procedures, because they're already classified as low risk. Apart from them, whether the other countries in standard, or else if they are in high risk countries, now they would have to have and they would have to have the risk classification, and they would have to have obliged to stricter due diligence. Then in the risk assessment, you'll also have to look into factors like corruption levels, indigenous rights, and then armed conflicts in production countries. So we have North Korea as one of the high risk countries. So obviously you have armed conflicts in such a country, of course, yes. So you will be forced to provide a much more like you have to have your risk assessment in place. And risk assessment is found in Article 10 of the EU legislative document. So all these documents which are required for us to understand better will be linked in the slide as a part of the slide itself, which will come later. And then in the risk assessment will also involve not only country risk classification, and risk assessment will be based on whether we are violating the local laws. And then the risk assessment will also be based on the complexity of the supply chain. And as we said previously, supply chains, when you have a global supply chain, it's going to be difficult gathering data. And you also have certain suppliers who may mix your products, the raw materials. For example, the zero supplier may mix non-compliant products along with the compliant products. So this could also cause a lot of problem for the final compliance report. And then the data that is available in the risk assessment. Once you know where your country stands, if I'm in India, I'm basically classified as a low risk operator. So I'm under low risk, and so that's fine. Now I have to come to indigenous rights. So I have my zero supplier as a part of my organization, who's like who's taking lands which is allocated for a specific group of people. Then then I have already violated it. Then what are my corruption levels? Am I bribing all my regional authorities to just get passed by so that I can have my products placed in EUDR finally? No, that is also not going to work, because your supplier at that level, wherever he's working, that local area, they would have to comply with all these rules. And whatever data we have gathered as a part of risk assessment, it has to be reviewed by the operator at least once a year. If you're a type of operator who's going to do multiple reviews a year, we are really happy for you. But at least once a year, we have to ensure that the risk is actually we have little to no risk for the products that we are going to place in the market. So operators are really accountable out here. Then the other is your risk mitigation. So this is found in the Article 11. So I have given the articles here right here because it will help you understand. Like if you're going to read your legislative document, it will help you understand. So this information is basically from there. So risk mitigation, this is like found in the Article 11. So what are we going to do in order to reduce the risk? So how can we reduce the risk? So I'm in a high risk country. Belarus is a high risk country. It's classified as high risk country. So I am in Belarus. So what do? So I have to have an independent audit. So I have to also train my supplier. So I have my suppliers in Belarus who don't know what is happening. So I better provide them some training. And I also have third-party audits right in Belarus. Have their help in helping my suppliers comply with the EUDR regulation. Then the other option is sourcing from certified suppliers. That is one of the best ways. That is one of the best ways actually. So you can take your certification from Forest Stewardship Council for wood products, and if you have a certified supplier, that is always good. But that does not mean it will ensure EUDR compliance. So that is one aspect. So sourcing from certified suppliers will help you, but it is not negating, non-compliance at the same time. Then the C is often really hard to talk about, because this is I'm not sure how practically feasible this is, terminating relationship with non-compliant suppliers. But rather than this, it is always better to have a clause. If you have a contract with the supplier, it is always better to have a clause with them stating that we are now falling under the scope of the deforestation regulation. We will be really happy if you can help us with such and such data, and this is required and it is compulsory. Having the clause is much better than terminating the entire relationship. I know most of the suppliers will not be able to initially full-fledgedly give the data, but at least I think we should make sure that we help the suppliers rather than terminating a relationship. This is easier said than done. So we are having a supplier who is giving us non-compliant products. Yeah, of course it affects us, because neither can the operator or the organization place a final product in the EU market. But at the same time, if you're going to take off the supplier from whom we are getting raw materials, which is making our final product non-compliant, termination will actually end up in loss of lot of costing for the operator or else the organizations involved. So we see that a lot. So replacing a supplier is not very easy. So it is always better to help the suppliers by engaging with them, having them aware, and then working with the third-party audit. So that is also part of risk mitigation, right? So working with them in order to help them rather than coming to the terrible conclusion at the point C, which we have mentioned here. So it is mentioned as the last note, but not as a first note. So I'm just moving over to the next slide. And then the next one is like leverage technology for traceability. As we looked into the previous slides, there is always this part where digital softwares can really help us, and we have to leverage digital part for traceability. So the first thing that we do is like adopt digital traceability solutions. So you can go for two types of data management, because this is all about managing data. It is not about managing data, but also auditing the data that comes from our value chain suppliers as well. So this is going to be data gathering. This is going to be your data analysis, because we have to understand the risks. So it is going to be your data analysis as well, and then you're also going to audit that data. So you have to have the audit of data that is coming from your suppliers, probably yearly once. I don't think so people will have a piece of land and then they will near a forest area, and then they will go and swipe down all the trees, and then taken larger plots of land at very short amount of time. So even if it's going to be yearly, we have to have at least 5-year data based on the requirements of EUDR legislation. So the technology for traceability has to account for your data management, for data analysis. I mean, which can be AI driven, because right now everybody seems to use the AI. But I mean, that's in a good sense. So it can give you, here these are your risks, and then probably it can help you understand what you need to do. So that is also really good. And then you also have to have your auditing built into the software. So when we go for data management, that is having your data, stored, can come in two different forms. One is decentralized data management, and you have your centralized data management. For decentralized data management, like people like, that we have platforms, blockchain-based platforms, which are going to be more decentralized. They are going to have the data in various locations, and then they are going to, bring the data together for a data analysis. Your data will be very real time. For example, I have written like IBM blockchain. They are very known blockchain based platforms. So if you want to go to decentralized data management, but yeah, there is always a costing to it. I think blockchain platforms, though they are really useful, but unless you are a larger corporation who has a budget, then you can invest in such blockchain technology, which will be really good. There is no saying no to that. Okay? There is always this real-time and data exchange and verification, which is excellent in blockchain related platforms. And then you also have your centralized data management, where you have you implement systems to store and manage your data, all the data related to all the suppliers in your value chain. Because when we say why we need the value chain is because though we have only one supplier who's working at at the 0th level, basically we need his geo coordinates and not the geo coordinates of anyone else actually. But even then, they will have to pass the data to upstream suppliers. So that is very essential. So we need all the data in one place. So a centralized data management is really good. It's more cost effective. There are systems like, of course, we have a system called ESG-HQ, which we use for ESG related framework, and also this EUDR is going to be a part of the ESG-HQ platform, which provides a centralized data management. And then you also have to have geospatial analysis and satellite imagery, because you have to compare data, right? They give you my 0th supplier gives me geolocation coordinates. I must be able to verify with the satellite imagery whether any deforestation has taken place. So I would obviously need geospatial analysis and satellite imagery. So example like Copernicus is one example, and making use of all these systems is really going to help us. And then the other is, even though we're going to use technology, avoid mass balance systems. So here we have mass balance chains that is going to mix deforestation-free commodities with with products which are whose origins are not known and whom may not be compliant. So we should really try avoiding all those things. And then we have to utilize EU information system. So this is called Traces. And here it is being in operation since December 2024. And we will be able to submit our due diligence statements here. So when you use technology or leverage technology, which we are going to see in a couple of other minutes, like how that it's going to really help. This digital technology will actually help you in submission of the DDS. So DDS is the statement that actually EUDR wants. So right now we have looked into one more aspect, and the other one is like engage and support suppliers. So as I said, yeah, we can have an excellent blockchain, based platform for decentralized data management, or else you can have our softwares like ESG-HQ for centralized data management. No matter what you use, you're going to do the same. The output is going to be very similar. So the final output is going to be producing the due diligence statement. So this due diligence statement generation is going to be much easier with the software, but at the same time, we will always have to engage and support our suppliers. So this is what we always come back to. We have to have a good rapport with the supplier in order to get information from them. It becomes very difficult when the compliant, when your people in the value chain are not willing to give you data, which even I have experience with certain suppliers. and engage and support suppliers is basically the next thing. So we have to build the suppliers capacity, which means that we have to train them, have other people, even third parties can train them, have them fully aware of what the regulation is. And if it is going to be SMEs, if already the company is an SME, they are a very small company, but they may have an excellent product. So it is not about the quality of the product, but they may be a smaller organization whose supplier does not have the financial, the wealth to actually invest in certain devices to get the GPS location. So if we are not going to, we have to, sometimes the suppliers may not be able to invest, supplier who's sitting at the farm. So we have to ensure that we provide means and engage with them and provide means wherein we supply, device which is able to use GPS location. There are farmers who are struggling on a day-to-day basis. I don't think so they will have all necessary means and devices which will help them get the GPS coordinates. But anyhow, as an organization, we can always help. Then we can also partner with NGOs and industrial associations, and we always can incentivize our compliance. I mean, all of us love, incentives, including me. So we can offer, long-term contracts, or else, we can have, price-related, negotiations with the supplier to actually help them give us the data. So moving over to the next slide. And I know some of you have asked us questions. I think once the session is over, I would be able to answer them, or else I'll be right back to you. So do not worry, we will definitely get to the questions. And this other option is to always monitor, report, and adapt. So this is how we get our EUDR, the supply chains, we help our supply chains be compliant with the EUDR. So one is you have to submit your due diligence statement. So of course, like we are working so hard in order to get the DDS statement. So finally, that's what matters. And then you have to maintain comprehensive records. So obviously, whether if you're going to be a very small organization, you have to maintain your record, and then you also have to continuously monitor. Even if you're a smaller organization, even if you do it manually, and you can employ services. Even when we say manual, we can employ services like if we do that as a service for EUDR, we can help engage the suppliers and get information from them. Though you may not be able to invest in softwares, you may have a budget. We can help you with the service part, so we can engage and get the data. But even then, we have to manage the data for the next 5 years, because audit will be compulsory. It's compulsory part. And then you also have to continuously monitor and enhance your protocol. So that is what we have to do. So there are a lot of other things that we can do. Like we can establish a EUDR compliance framework within the organization, and then also engaging with your stakeholders is another part. So there are a lot of other things that we can do, but I have just listed down the main things that is required in order for the supply chain to be really compliant with the EUDR. So I'm just going to reiterate that: understanding, defining obligations internally, then you move on to your supply chain, and then map them out. Then you're going to have a robust due diligence system, whether be it manual or software. Then we are going to use technology for traceability. Traceability is really key here. And then we are going to engage and support the suppliers. Then we are going to monitor, we are going to report, and then we are going to adapt. Because earlier EUDR did not have the leniency for low-risk countries to have a simplified due diligence process, but now it has. So there may be key changes to the regulation. And there may be delays to the regulation. There may be key changes to the regulation. They may, not enforce a strict, assessment. So whatever happens in the regulation, we'd have to monitor that also continuously. And I think this would be the end of what we have to do in order to get our supply chains ready. This is a sample template, of course. We are going to send you this presentation. You can look into the final due diligence sample statement. So this is what you're going to have here. You have your operator related information, which is basically the person the organization who's placing the products in the market. We're just given a sample of that. So your organizational administrative information. So what's the type of product? Then your, of course, your geo coordinates, which is very important. I'm just, saying certain information from here. Then supplier and client information. So all this information will be a part of the due diligence statement. We are going to send this PP to you, so PPT to you. So you'll be able to look more intently on what is actually going in the final DDS statement. So we have also a manual template which we use in order to gather information from multiple suppliers. So this is not actually high risk country Ghana, Western. This is not applicable right now. So we have just filled in some sample data so that to help you understand that manual templates are also feasible if you don't go for softwares. So we can get all the information from your supplier. So we have from supplier 1 till supplier and so till the loss of the value chain. So we can collect information from them as well. What will happen in case of software is that, which we are going to discuss in the next slide. So I don't want to jump there. So this is a sample template, and this is and the previous one is the final DDS statement that we are that we have to submit to EU. So, and how can we leverage software for EUDR compliance? I'm going to keep this really short, looking at the time that I have. So how can we leverage software? So this is not about a specific software, though I would mention the software that we have. It's not about a specific software. So how we really can leverage software or a digital software for compliance. So as we discussed previously, we also saw in how to get a compliant, how to get our supply chains compliant with EUDR. We already looked into having, a digital system for traceability. So we are going to centralize supply chain data. So your softwares are going to, actually help you in mapping supply chain. So that's what, like, basically ESG HQ, whatever software we have at the moment does. So it is used for mapping your supply chains, then collecting your geolocation data. So not everything manually, but there may be times when your supplier is very hesitant and they may not be using the software. Even if then we can, whatever is given manually to us, we can upload into the system. Not only in our software, but many softwares have this feature. Then we can also automate data collection, actually. So we can have automated data collection also as a part of the software. So this is going to make our lives much easier. Not that the supplier engagement goes away, but this is going to make our lives easier because we'll have data to view and monitor. So that's where it's going to make our life easier. Then conduct automated risk assessment. So as we previously discussed, it's going to help you with the risk analysis based on the country where you are. Then deforestation risk monitoring could also be a part of the automated risk assessment. Then you have the legal compliance check. So there could be, based on the country of origin, you could be forced to comply to actually 10 rules. For example, let us say you have 10 regulations which you have to comply. So with softwares, like the legality checking becomes much easier. It's going to be just with a click of, yes, I have complied to this, and uploading some proof of your compliance. Otherwise, manually, you would have to store all the information in one single huge file, and then we forget that. So I think in this way, conducting automated risk assessment with data that is already available in the system is going to help us, even with legal compliance. And then you can do the due diligence statement really easily. So it can generate a DDS statement for you, and then we can reuse the DDS statement, and whenever we want, we'll be. And if EU is going to, if you're going to be part of a EU member state, and then if you're going to come in for an audit, happy are we, because you can show in all the information that is available within your system, and you can always reference the DDS number. So that is really easy. And then you also have, we can track the DDS life cycle. though we can track the status of the DDS as well. So that's really useful when it comes to using or leveraging any software, not only us but any software for this particular purpose. And then you also have the facility for software to integrate with the existing systems. So with existing systems, you can already map to your ERP or CRM or whatever it is, like for better data reuse and flow. So that's where it will come in, and scalability as well. So if you are a small scale business, then I think you have to choose your software very wisely, because you always have a budget constraint. Then you also have to choose software which is user friendly. I have had softwares where it is very difficult to find out where we are and what we are supposed to do next. So when you see a user friendly interface, and your software is scalable and you have integration with existing systems, and it can help you ensure that for EUDR you're also compliant with the other local regulations. That's going to be a real software that you can use. And if it's going to be budget friendly, then even more happier are we. So this is with respect to leveraging any software for EUDR. And then the next steps. There is nothing much to do, but other than being ready with all the information that we have shared with you over this webinar. And also you can always contact us. We are always ready and very, very happy to help. So you can raise your questions to compliance@apaengineering.com, and myself and some of our internal experts also will be always happy to reach out to you, clarify any doubts that you have. I think it's mostly, we really like helping organizations who have difficulties, so you can always reach us out, and always make sure that you are you have registered in traces, like the EUDR information system that European Union has provided. If you're going to be an operator or trader, please register, and please make sure that you know how to use the software. They have put out a lot of videos in EUDR related pages. They have given a lot of links. Though always reading the legislation document is very difficult. It's like 37 pages of the document. Reading that was really difficult, but I think videos are much more helpful. They help us how to use the final traces system. So if you're an operator or a trader, please do register yourselves. And I think it's high time that if you have not engaged with your suppliers prior, if you're going to fall under the scope of EUDR, then please do. I think December 2025 is going to come really fast if you're a larger organization. Otherwise, if you're going to have even if you're an SME, it's going to be at least another 10 to 11 months, I guess, before we start the compliance. And that's it. I don't want to talk any further. And I really wish we all can work together to protect our environment. And we have given you our contact details. And most of the files that I have used will already be given as an object in the presentation file. We will send that over to you. And we are always happy to help. And time for questions. I'm going to read the questions and see if I can answer. Okay, I have a question from. Okay, so yeah, definitely you can get a recording and the presentation. We will make both of them available to you. So that was one question. And geolocation of the production. Okay, and this person has asked, I purchased cardboard boxes from a supplier. Should I consider the geographic coordinates of the forest areas where the raw materials are sourced, or the coordinates of the cardboard manufacturing location, or do we need both sets of the coordinates? Okay. So if you're going to be a cardboard box manufacturer, actually what okay, in this case, we very well know that cardboard is a part of EUDR, but so if they are imported or distributed or whatever it is. So in this case, you have asked so from where was the cardboard? So for cardboard manufacturing, you would have purchased the final end product was a cardboard, but there was a place where the product had originated. The raw materials for the cardboard were purchased. So you would have to consider the geographical coordinates of the raw materials which were sourced from that particular plot. So that is what you would have to consider. So I hope I'm clear to you. So I'm also going to answer that. I have answered that. Okay, then let me see if there are any other questions. Okay, so we are medium-sized enterprise and sourcing products regulated under EUDR. What document should be asked from the supplier? Does the supplier's due diligence statement, including the DDS reference number and verification number, sufficient, or other information like geolocation data, etc., will be required? So the documents you have to ask from your supplier, which is not your tier one. I really want to emphasize on that. It's going to be the geolocation always will not come from your tier one. If your tier one is actually your direct producer of the good and who's also doing, who's working on the raw materials, that supplier will be the only supplier who's also a tier one who will be able to give you geo coordinates. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that way. So you have to go to the zero supplier who's actually working in the place of the raw materials originating for your final product. So final product can be complex. So where does your raw material originate? So from there you'd have to get the geolocation information, which will be already a part of the DDS statement. That's a template that we gave, right? So the final DDS statement will already have the geolocation. I hope I made that very clear to you. And the other documents that you probably may want is like from your local authorities. So if your supplier has already they have whether they have complied with the local laws, environmental laws, like human rights laws, whether they have already complied to that specific local land rules, whether do they have any document that they have complied. So that sort of documents you can ask. And for GPS, because you're going to give the coordinates, you can verify that information directly with data that is available as a part of traces. But even if not, you can have third-party inspectors actually going to your the zero supplier and then working with them in order to tell you whether this is in a deforested area, or else this is this plot has is not in a deforested area. For that, you have to work with a third-party person or a third-party audit who can do that verification for you. So I hope I have made this clear, and would like to thank all of you really. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your questions. And we will send out the presentation and recording to you. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.